Hi, I'm Daria Burke, Chief Marketing Officer at JustFab, welcoming you back to our Leading with Style series, where we talk to culture-changing women shaping our world about life, leadership, and our love of fashion. I am so excited to be here today with Alli Webb, former publicist and hairstylist, mother, and founder of Drybar. Alli is one of the game changers in the beauty industry as a leading entrepreneur. She's also one of the most fashionable women out there. I am so excited that we are working together, and I'm really excited and looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so much, Alli.
Same. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'd love to start with your journey to entrepreneurship. Tell us your path to founding Drybar.
Well, it's quite the long path. I mean, my parents were entrepreneurs, so I kind of was born into that life and watched my parents, run their businesses, and kind of, I feel like it was kind of by osmosis. I wasn't really paying attention and didn't know, I'd end up having my own business, certainly not a business of this scale all these years later, but it really was embedded in me, I think, as a kid. And, growing up, I was like very lost out of high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I struggled and bounced from job to job. I became a hairstylist in my early 20s. I was a publicist for a while. I had a dog walking business. I worked in retail. I mean, I've had every job you can imagine. But it took me a while to figure out what my thing was. And it wasn't until I became a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was home with my boys and for about 5 years of that. And I just got the itch to get out there and do something for myself again. So I started a mobile blow dry business in probably 2008, I guess, which was really just a way to get out of the house for a couple hours, do something for myself, earn a little extra cash. And, by that point I had been doing hair for almost 10 years off and on, and felt like a little mobile blow dry business that I could, my whole vision of that was I was going to go to my mommy friend's house while their babies were sleeping, blow out their hair, charge $40. It was like $220, super easy, not a very complicated business plan. But, I started doing that, and it took off, and I found myself in this really interesting place of being too busy and feeling like, do I want to hire more people to help me manage all the demand I was getting? Because as you know, $40 for a blowout in your home is pretty unheard of. But it wasn't about the money for me. It was more about getting out of the house, doing something for myself. So my little business started thriving, and I thought, I think there's an opportunity here to, open a place that is just for blowouts. And when I look back at my life and all the things that I've done, I think everything really kind of got me ready to be at the helm of this blow dry brand, which was my passion my whole life. I mean, I was that kid in high school, spending hours and hours and hours and hours trying to figure out how to blow out my frizzy curly hair. Did I mention that? That's a huge part of my story, is that I have naturally curly hair. And I think that was really the impetus of all of this. It was personal necessity, which of course, when I talk to anybody who's thinking about starting a business, I'm always what are you really passionate about? And for me, it was figuring out how to get my curly frizzy hair smooth and bouncy. So that's kind of how I guess I ended up here. That was kind of an up and down story, but yeah, I mean, there's so many different reasons I think that I ended up where I did.
And you founded it with your brother, is that right?
That's right. My
what
bald
was that
brother.
Like? Your bald brother.
My bald brother. And my bald ex-husband, which, it was very much a family affair. And it was great because we all brought such different skill sets to the business. My brother is just kind of a natural businessman. My ex-husband, Cam, is just it's such a creative genius and I was the hair part of it and customer service. And so we all had our different lanes. And so we worked really well together because we all knew that we all had our own strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of let everybody kind of be where they were at their best. So I think that's why it worked. And I know that so many people think it's crazy to work with your brother and then husband, but we had such a good time. We've had such a good time doing this. And, and there's an innate trust that you have with your family that you don't really have with anybody else. So there was that too. And yeah, it's been a blast.
I think that we're seeing things shift a bit with more women becoming entrepreneurs and encouraged to do so, getting more funding to do so. What would be your biggest piece of advice for women who have dreams of starting their own company?
Well, you're right. I mean, there definitely is this surge in, female-founded businesses, which really didn't exist when I was starting Drybar. I mean, there were very few women. I think Candace Nelson of Sprinkles and, a handful of others, Sarah Blakely, There was some, but not the way there is now. I mean, I feel like all of my best friends are founders of companies. And, to answer your question, I think that I think the fact that there are so many women, like me and so many others who are founding their own companies and having a lot of success, it kind of opens up the doors and the pathway for younger girls up and coming to have the confidence to start their own business. I think one of the things I'm most proud of, ironically, is that, I didn't go to college. I don't have a traditional pedigree that you would think that I have based on what I've done, with help. And so I think it's like this, if she did it, I can do it mentality, which, we have 4,000 stylists that work for Drybar. And I think that's what, I know that's kind of the sentiment that they feel too. It's like, truly, if I did it, anybody can do it. Because I say this all the time, like, I'm not usually the smartest person in the room, but I'm scrappy and, and I know how to work really hard and, I think on my feet. And, my parents always said that I was very street smart, which I don't know how actually street smart I am, but, as opposed to being really book smart. So, I guess my best advice is there's so many different paths and there's not one cookie cutter way you have to do things in order to gain success.
And if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that was like one of the best things one of the biggest lessons I learned along the way of building Drybar. And I really have my brother Michael to thank for this. He was always wanting us to hire ahead of the curve, and he was hiring people who like knew how to scale a business and run a business and operate a business, where we were very visionary and we knew what we wanted. We knew how we wanted the shop to feel and the customer service and so many different things. But it was, bringing on more people around us, people who were smarter than us, who had skills that we didn't have. That was totally the key.
Hire your weakness. That is probably the biggest piece of advice I give to new managers, experienced leaders, whatever it might be.
Yep.
As important as beauty is to our lives, the pandemic forced the closure of any business that was deemed non-essential, including hair salons.
Yes.
How has that impacted your marketing strategies? How have you pivoted to engage customers differently with everything that's going on? And what have you learned?
Oh, man. I mean, service industries, I feel like got hit particularly hard with the pandemic. And, we closed very quickly. We reopened a few months ago and then had to close again. And then now we're back open again. And the business looks very different now, which is a tough pill to swallow because, as you know, Drybar is bustling and lots of women are in there, and that's part of the fun and the allure. And now, we're spacing chairs out. You can't come into the shop until it's your actual appointment time. We're taking all the necessary precautions, and that is a huge pivot, which I think pivot is like the number one word of 2020. It's like you just have to figure out how to adjust and change. And, we really kind of honed in on like trying to help women at home do their hair. I can't remember how many, tutorials I was doing in my bathroom, filming it. And, that was a lot of our strategy in the early days was like, well, if they can't come to us, let's teach them how to do it. And that's really what we tried to do. But it doesn't make up for the salon experience. And that is something that we hear from so many women. I mean, now I was just in a Drybar last week and a woman walked by and saw I was there and she yelled out, "I'm so happy you're open." Women want to get back to that. And, and the thing that's really fascinating is it's not just because, we're still not really going many places, but we are on Zoom calls and we are in cameras. And it's we still want to look good and feel good. And I think the feel good part of it, which is really largely what our success has been built on, is the way we make women feel, which I would love to tell you I knew before we started this whole thing, but I don't think I realized it until I saw it firsthand. But it is the way we make women feel. We're giving them this amazing confidence from having great hair. And I think women are just really missing that. So we're really thankful to be back open and, trying to ramp back up and, get as many women in as we can per day, because there is still a ton of demand.
Yeah, which is great. And honestly, I think that's right. We are all, and we've talked about this with Kelly Rowland actually most recently, we all still want to feel just as fabulous no matter where we are, even if we're not able to go out and be, in the world in the same way.
Yes, I do miss dressing up and going places. I realized. I dressed up for something the other day and I was like, oh, this feels good, and put on heels and makeup, and so I'm anxious to get back.
I am too. I am too. COVID notwithstanding, though, the fashion and beauty industries are, I feel like, in a constant state of disruption. And I was having a conversation recently. I had the pleasure of chatting with Michelle Lee, the editor-in-chief at Allure magazine. I love her too. And we were exploring what feels like this new standard in fashion and beauty. And so I'm curious, as you think about a life in the future after we get through this pandemic, how do you, or even thinking about it before COVID, how do you think about staying in front of the curve, ahead of the curve and ahead of the trend?
Well, I mean, I think that, it's, as far as hair goes, it's just so similar to fashion, you know? I mean, it's like we see all these styles, they constantly come back around with a slightly different twist. The same thing happens with hair, literally with a different twist, you know? I mean, it's like we brought a style onto our menu a couple of years ago, the old fashioned, which is like, you know, the very brushed together Marilyn Monroe, modern Kim Kardashian, you know, we're that. So hair kind of moves, I think, through those trends and back again, just like fashion. So it's like whatever has been really popular starts to go away and then the opposite comes back. So for like us, the Mai Tai, you know, messy, beachy hair has been really popular for a really long time. But I think we're like, okay, we're a little over that, you know, and I feel like, speaking of the old fashioned, that like brushed together curls are coming back into style. And like, I think really big hair is having a moment. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of, it's always ever changing, which I love about hair and I love about fashion.
And I think, you know, even your comment about big hair made me wonder further, you know, how do you guys think about ensuring that your customer engagement strategies feel inclusive and feel diverse? And even as you're talking about styles that maybe are sleek, versus styles that perhaps aren't so much.
Well, we definitely have, you know, we try, and we're even in the process right now of updating our product assortment to make sure we have a very diverse line of products, which we haven't always had. And, you know, the thing about hair is like there's a million different types of hair out there. There's every type of texture you can imagine and color and length and everything. And we want to accommodate all of it. So, you know, we're kind of always rethinking and like, what are we missing all the time to make sure we can, you know, accommodate everybody, every look, every desire of, you know, every style. So I find that women like to change it up too. It's like you've gotten your hair done this way for so long, and now you're like, oh, you just see somebody else wearing it this way, and you want to give it a shot. And I think that's the beauty of Drybar, is that you're able to kind of try different styles and experiment with different things, and you know, and see whatever kind of is on trend for the moment. It feels fun and new. But it's like I watched something, speaking of Kim Kardashian, and I think it was, and we were just talking about Meghan Markle. Where she, you know, she had her hair like slicked down in the front, but then, you know, kind of bigger. It was very mod.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I love that look. Let's do that. You know, I mean, it's just so easy to get inspired by each other.
Yeah, and I do. I think women love to mix it up and love to change it up. And I love that you have evolved with that. I think that obviously you were known for a specific type of blowout and, you know, and still are. And that's fabulous. But I think making room for women to be able to, you know, have their hair braided or do other things, I think is great.
We're always trying to make sure that we're, you know, we're covering all the bases. And even our styles, our classic styles, there's so many different takes on them. So we love when women get more experimental and they want to try new things, for sure.
Have you found that training your stylists has had to evolve as a result of also being more inclusive?
The training has evolved over, like, for the last 10 years. It's constantly evolving, and we're always trying to figure out, because, you know, we have stylists that come to us who've been in the industry for 10 plus years, and then we have stylists who are like right out of beauty school. So it's a very different learning curve. So there's a lot of training, and yeah, I mean, we, you know, one of the things I think I pride myself on in this business is making sure that your blowout is amazing no matter what. And that means we can't always be as fully booked as I'd like us to be, because we don't have enough stylists, because the stylists are still in training. Yeah. So, and it's an ongoing program as well. So you can get out on the floor in Drybar and be doing hair, but then if, you know, something happens and a client doesn't love the way you did hair, it's kind of back to the drawing board and more training. So yeah, it's a pretty robust system now, and it's kind of evolved over the years.
One of the things we love about you is you have fun with fashion, and I think you found a way to balance both being powerful and strong, but also having a lot of fun with your fashion. How has your style evolved?
Gosh, when I think about like 10 years ago, I guess probably, you know, pre-Drybar. I feel like I was like running around with my babies, and I was in like yoga pants and sweatshirts. And then as, my life started to shift with Drybar, and, I was on TV more, and I was, doing interviews, and I felt like I needed to step it up. And it's funny, and I'm sure you understand this, you see yourself in pictures or on things, and you're like, oh, that wasn't a great choice, And so I've paid attention to that stuff. And I've always had such a deep love of fashion. And I mean, shopping is like, my happy place. Like, I love clothes and I love fashion. So I think, my style has certainly evolved. And, I like, for me, it's like, I want to feel comfortable and look really cute and chic, but like, not that I try too hard, which is also, by the way I like my hair. I don't like my hair to look too perfect. I like it to be a little messy and not perfect. Just like I love, fashion. I'm not super polished, I wouldn't say. I think I'm like a little rough around the edges, but I kind of like that. I like to kind of keep it like more comfortable, and comfort really is a huge thing for me. I mean, I like to be cute, but if I'm not comfortable, I'm so miserable. So that's a huge part of it. So finding the balance there is always a good challenge for me.
Chic and relatable.
Chic and relatable. Done.
Alli Webb in 2 words.
Yeah. I love that. I always say, what do we say? Because I get asked to describe like my style a lot, and I'm like, I don't know, like edgy with like a little bit of chic and a little sophistication. I don't know. It's probably silly, but
no,
but it's fun. I mean, I think that like I also don't like to take myself too seriously when it comes to fashion. I just, some like I can't wear things that are not, again, comfortable and like make me feel good, which is the same again for hair. I feel like hair and fashion are so interchangeable.
It's a perfect segue because your curated shoe collection for JustFab is called Power Moves.
I love it.
And it really is all about inspiring women to feel confident with every step that they take. What features define a powerful shoe for you?
I feel like a powerful shoe is a shoe that you can like really get a lot of work done in, feel really awesome and chic, but also like be comfortable and not like dying to take your shoes off. I mean, I think that's like the thing. For me, it's, I'm always on the, like pre-COVID, always on the go, running around from meeting to meeting and thing to thing. It's like, I don't want my shoes to be killing me, but I also want to look really cute. So that's kind of, what I thought about with this collection is like, you want to have comfortable shoes on, but you want to look really good. I mean, I really don't understand like women who can wear, I mean, I think it's awesome when they can wear like stilettos, like, but I'm like, how do you do it? It's not me.
That's a sitting shoe.
It's a sitting shoe. Yes. Or like a walking the red carpet for like 5 minutes
right.
and then taking them off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feeling confident and empowered is something I think a lot of people are struggling with right now, and especially having to work from home or live at work, as I like to call it now. And, there's a lack of resources, a lack of time. What advice do you have for women who are searching for, I don't know, a bit of inspiration and a bit of spark to reignite how they're feeling these days?
Well, I can really only speak for myself and say that for me, it's like my surroundings are really important. It's, no matter, what kind of space you're in, like making it your own and making it feel like a place that you want to like kind of hunker down and work for the day. That took me a little while to find, because I didn't have like an actual office set up at my home, like I'm sure most people don't. I think that you don't just want to put your laptop on the kitchen counter and start working. I think like creating and curating your own little space. For me, I have like a little couch upstairs, and I bought, a little table that goes on top of it, and there's a plant behind it because, we're also on Zoom calls a lot and meetings and all of that. So you want your space to look and feel like a space you want to be in. So I think that's a really important thing to have that inspiration. And to feel like your best self when you're like your surroundings. I think our surroundings are so important. In addition to like, putting on a cute top and doing your hair and putting on a little makeup and whatever it is whatever that thing is for you that makes you feel really powerful and confident is I think the key.
I love that, because I do think that for the first time we've sort of invited our colleagues into our homes, and they usually are only seeing sort of how we present in the office, right? So bringing them now in, you want to make sure that it reflects who you are.
And it's interesting because there's something really kind of awesome about it. I mean, it's like we all have dogs and animals, and they usually like run in the middle of a call, and everyone's just like, hey, and everyone's kind of cool with it. So there is this like, we're all a little more human because you're in someone's like, you know, potential living room or bedroom or backyard or whatever it is. So, you know, I think that's a bit of a silver lining in all of this.
I think so too. So this interview will air on December 1st, but we are filming on November 2nd, the day before the election. How are you feeling about the future?
I mean, I think here's the silver lining. I think there's a lot of really powerful women. There's a lot of, you know, I think there's a lot of hope for the future. I think there's also, you know, a lot of, I mean, there's obviously so much uncertainty, and, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic of where we're going. I think that, you know, this year has been such a, gosh, I mean, it's just been such a like, you know, kind of take stock, reset kind of year that I feel like the only way to go is up, potentially, hopefully. You know, I think that we'll, I like to think that we'll bounce back stronger than ever, because there, you know, again, I feel like I keep saying silver lining, but there is this common thread that I think people feel in some ways more united than ever. And we certainly need more of that in this country. And you know, I hopefully we will find that in the next 4 years without getting too political.
Well, I asked the question, so that's fair.
Yeah.
So let's look further into the future as we
Yes.
look towards 2021 and we close out such an unprecedented year. Do you have any personal or professional resolutions that you'd be willing to share with us?
Well, I think, you know, more on the personal side, I've, you know, as I'm getting older and I'm kind of trying to be more mindful of what I'm eating. And I feel like it's amazing as you get older, you know, you have to be more aware of what you're putting into your body. And I've started to kind of shift that and find more of a balance. And it's really amazing how much better I feel when I'm eating very clean. So that's something that's a huge kind of change. And you know, because I think, you know, like probably a lot of women, it's like we do these diets and we go up and down with our weight and the way we feel about ourselves. And I'm trying to kind of find that balance right now where I'm happy. And I think, you know, you said it best earlier, the mindful eating is like how I'm trying to think about it without doing like the crazy diets and the crazy stuff, just being really aware of what I'm eating, because it not only makes me feel better in like my own skin and my body, but like it does affect your mind. I recently cut out gluten because I just feel really awful after I eat gluten. And I don't know if that's always been there or I'm just more aware of it now, but I think staying aware of that kind of stuff, because I really think it affects so much of us. It's not just the way, again, we look and feel, but it's like the way we operate and interact with the world. And I think, you know, mental health, you know, not to get all personal, but I went through a divorce a couple of years ago, and, you know, the up and down and, you know, going through a little bit of a depression, it's like it all really works together. So for me, it's like exercising, eating well is like a big one for me going into 2021.
I love that. What about professionally?
Professionally, I have so many fun projects. You know, it's been a really, also, you know, I think with my divorce and then trying to figure out like where I was and where I was going. Now I have so many fun projects in the works. I'm working on a second book, which is really kind of my whole life story, from, you know, being a little girl to you know, starting and growing Drybar to what's after Drybar. So that's really exciting. You know, I have a couple TV projects in the works. I have some really fun partnerships like this going on, and just I feel so grateful and lucky that I'm able to do these things that are like really fun and exciting for me. I just relaunched my podcast, Raising the Bar, with my boyfriend that I live with now, Adrian, and that's been really fun. So yeah, I'm doing like the stuff that I really love. I mean, I loved building and growing Drybar, and now I'm kind of on my next chapter and doing stuff that's kind of next level and really fun for me.
That's exciting. Yeah. So speaking of the new year, what shoes are you going to wear on New Year's Eve, and how will you be celebrating?
Gosh. I don't know. New Year's Eve is like around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
I imagine I'll do something at home with just like my closest friends and family, but I plan on getting dressed up. I haven't really thought that much about the shoes. I think I might wear the shoes that you're wearing with I love the little gold embellishment. That's like, and I'm gold all the way. So just like a comfortable boot with a little bit something fancy on it. probably something like that.
Sounds good. Before we wrap today, we always end our Leading with Style interviews with the same question. What is the best advice a woman you admire has given you?
I would say that feedback is a gift, is the best advice I've been given. That it is a gift, and it's something that you should embrace and not, get defensive about.
Cherished advice, for sure. I think that's powerful. Thank you so much for having us in your home and for spending time with me. I cannot wait for the world to see your collection. They got a sneak peek.
I have some super cute shoes coming out.
Yes, you do.
They're so good.
And I can't wait for women everywhere to make power moves in your incredible JustFab collection. What an amazing way to close out this year.
I know it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We will be back in January with another amazing woman as part of our Leading with Style series. Until then, I wish you all a happy and healthy holiday season and a lovely new year.